I knew Joyce before this, so we knew each other, and it was great. And it wrapped up 15 minutes. Conversation couldn't have been better, Jared. And I'm like, thank you guys so much. This was fantastic. And then our director comes in. We had just gotten a new system at the studio, and that's always kind of tricky. Things happen. And the director comes in, and he was like, Matt, I have to tell you something. And I was like, what? And he was like, it didn't record.
No.
And this was not a live interview, so we did record it in the afternoon. I was like,
no.
What are you talking about? Welcome to South Carolina Sideline, everybody. I'm Matt Dowell alongside Jared Parker today. Jared, how you doing this week?
It's good. It's been a minute since we've done one together.
I know. I think we did like our first YouTube version of this together. That was like a month and a half ago. But welcome into another edition of our show, everybody. As always, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, follow us, rate us wherever you watch or listen to our podcast. Excited for another edition of our show. It's been a busy week. Gamecocks softball getting to super regionals. We're going to talk some Gamecock baseball. A former NFL star that was in Columbia this week, or not a former NFL star, a current NFL star, former Gamecock that was in Columbia this week. We're also going to talk WNBA, and I have a behind-the-scenes story for you guys that involves me and Joyce Edwards in a very, very weird day when it comes to an interview. So stay tuned for that story. But first, Jared, a milestone in your journalism career. He got recognized over the weekend, everybody. Tell us all about it.
Well, it happened at the gym, and I honestly, there's a guy at the gym. I see him pretty often, but he went back home and he was watching our show. He told me he watches us regularly, and he's like, hey, I'm like, that's the guy at the gym, unless he has a twin, which I'm pretty sure he doesn't. So he comes back to me and he's like, hey, are you that TV guy? And I'm like, I think I'm pretty sure I'm that TV guy. And he was telling me, he watches sports. So that was a pretty cool moment.
Cool moment and deserved. Jared's done such a good job. But in case you guys are watching us for the first time, listening to us for the first time, we do a 30-minute Sports Zone show every weeknight at 11 o'clock on Watch Fox here in Columbia. So if you like listening to us and watching us on YouTube, you can also watch us on Watch Fox every night at 11 o'clock. But Jared, let's get into all the storylines because a lot this week. Of course, Gamecock softball, the big one for us this weekend, cruising through their Columbia Regional, making it to the Supers for the first time since 2018. This was really one-way traffic for them as expected. They now are going to host UCLA in the Super Regionals this coming weekend here in Columbia. But Jared, you got to see all of this weekend with South Carolina. What stood out to you the most? Because they ran through this comfortably.
That's exactly what stood out to me, is how comfortable they looked. It's crazy to think about it because this is a team that they're pretty much a first-year team. It's Ashley Chastain-Woodard's first year in Columbia. Obviously, she brought some transfers with her from Charlotte, but they gel like they've been together for their whole careers, and they were so comfortable. And most importantly in all that, all their runs against North Florida in the last 2 days came when they had 2 outs on the board. 11 total runs with 2 outs on the board. So with their backs against the wall, when they needed to hit, they found a way to get it done, and they just look ready to make a deep run.
What she has done in her first year as a head coach is simply extraordinary. 40-plus wins, a national seed at the tournament, now going to the Supers where I think they're the favorite against UCLA, and I think that's why that 8 seed was huge because it was between both of those schools. It was South Carolina and UCLA. South Carolina got it. They get to host UCLA, who's got to come all the way from the West Coast to play the Gamecocks. So they're going to have their home field advantage. They're going to be able to rest a lot more staying here in Columbia. And I just think that they're the better team, and so I'm interested to see how this weekend plays out. But what Gamecock softball, the turnaround in year one has been outstanding.
It's incredible. And speaking of the tournament, it's even interesting to look now, not getting too ahead of ourselves, but number one, Texas A&M is now out. So
that's true.
They have a very, very realistic path to make a deep run in this tournament. But it's interesting you talk about the turnaround. That's the one thing that the players have consistently mentioned, is that they were not here for a rebuild year. They were here to compete now. And securing that 8 seed, winning the regionals, looking to win super regionals. They have made it very clear that rebuild is not in their vocabulary.
Not in their vocabulary, and they want to keep it going to Oklahoma City. Of course, after they clinched their way to the super regional round, we got to talk to the Gamecocks, and Ashley Chastain Woodard says that she reflected on this season. Of course, it's not over, but she says that, yeah, they expected to get this far.
Yeah, I mean, I think anything's possible, and I have a ton of belief in the players and the ones that, chose to stay and the ones that came in. So I knew it was definitely possible. I think from the beginning, hosting a regional was definitely something that we thought was very obtainable for the group that started training in August. And a top 8 seed, I mean, you look around at the conference and you look around at the game right now, it's just like, man, like that's really hard to do. I don't want to say I was surprised because I think our resume granted us the 8 seed for sure. I think we earned the 8 seed outright. If you put a blind resume together, I mean, I think we would have gotten picked. So I think we earned it. But, we just wanted a chance, to host a regional and, a little extra here. Softball for the fans would be great, for an extra week. So it's special. These are moments and weeks that you never forget. And, I'm really happy for the players. I mean, I'm really happy for these guys, because they, this is it. They don't get to play much after, this is over. So just to be able to go out like this, you always want to give them this experience. As a coach, you dream of giving them this experience. And so to see it come to fruition is, like I said, at some point in the summer, I guess I'll process it all, but we still got ball to play.
So South Carolina, the 8 seed, will host number 9 seed UCLA this weekend at the Carolina Softball Stadium. Friday at 1 o'clock is game 1. Saturday at 1 o'clock is game 2, and then game 3 will be on Sunday if that isn't necessary. South Carolina, though, looking to get to Oklahoma City, the College World Series, which would be so cool. And of course, we will be there for that this weekend. We'll have you covered on all of our Watch Fox digital platforms. Now, Jared, we're not going to talk a lot about Gamecock baseball, not because it's hard to watch and hard to talk about, but simply because the SEC tournament starts on Tuesday, which is the day that this podcast episode is released. So whether you're watching or listening, no matter what time, the game is at 5:30 against Florida on this Tuesday. So the game could be over by the time you're watching or listening to this, or it could not have happened. So we're just kind of, we're going to follow Gamecock baseball, but they play Florida at the SEC tournament at 5:30 on this Tuesday, the day that this podcast episode is released. South Carolina won game 1 against LSU on Thursday, and then they lost game 2 and 3 to the number 1 ranked Tigers. So it's going to be a tough week. I mean, they're going to have to make some magic happen, and I have not seen anything that's going to, that's showing us that, but you never know what we're going to get this week. But yeah, Gamecock baseball playing Florida in the first round of the SEC tournament. The other cool thing that happened this weekend, Jared, this is actually another thing that you got to witness this weekend, is former Gamecock and current Panthers wide receiver Xavier Legette was back in Columbia doing a really fun camp. What was that experience like?
That was really cool. I haven't been to any of these NFL youth camps before, but it was so incredible to watch him. He is such a personable guy.
Yeah.
The way he was interacting with everyone that was there, the way he interacted with me, it was just so cool. Everyone says he's very respectful, and he's that same person, camera on, camera off. But what was really awesome was watching him interact with the kids. He played scrimmages with every age group. There was one kid who ambushed him, jumped on him, he gave the kid a hug and all that. And seeing everyone from Columbia, like they had their Legette South Carolina merch, just start chanting his name when he walked. And he's really loved by the people here. And he's showing that love, returning that love every bit back to the community.
So what were kind of the things that they were working on? What were the things he was trying to show them and teach them?
Yeah, so they split up the age groups from kindergarten, first grade, yada, yada. And they had stations. So a lot of it was footwork, going change of direction, things like that. Some of it was ball work, the drills that corners do, some of the drills that receivers do. So it wasn't just a receiver operated camp. Like there were drills that applied to every position in football. But where he was at, that was where the scrimmage was, and he was playing quarterback for the scrimmage. So, we're used to seeing him catch touchdowns, but he was able to throw throw them to a couple of the camp goers.
It's just such a cool atmosphere at things like that because the kids are so starstruck. They're so excited. I mean, you guys remember what it was like to be that age and to have an opportunity to attend a camp of a current NFL star. It's just, it's always good vibes at things like that. And Jared actually got to talk to Xavier Legette one-on-one at that camp on Saturday, and here is that interview.
We're here one-on-one with Xavier Legette, youth football camp today. Xavier, when you walk out to all those cheers and screams from the kids, you see them wearing your jersey. What does that feel like, just knowing you're loved and supported by the community?
Oh, man, I can feel a whole lot of love out here, man. The energy is here, man. The kids, they ready to have fun. They ready to get a little better, 1% better. Yes, so.
Obviously, USC, Carolina Panthers, you've done a couple camps around. What makes you want to go back and give back to the communities that has helped made your football career?
Oh, man, my thing is, man, anything that can make the kids better, I'm willing to do. Yeah, so that'd be the main thing for me, man. I just want to see the kids happy. I want to see them have a bright future.
Obviously, all ages of kids look like we have kids that just learned how to walk versus kids going into high school. What does it mean that this football camp is able to help nurture the skills of all those different age groups?
Oh, man, they willing to get better. If you start at an early age, I think that's the best way to do it. It's a fundamental thing, man. So if you could put that together and piece it together the years that you grow, you're only going to become a great player.
Now, at the end of today, what's something you want all of them to walk away with?
Just a smile on their face and knowing that they got better today and have fun.
So a fun time back here in Columbia with Xavier Legette, of course. Training camp still a couple of months away for the Carolina Panthers, but he'll be ready to go year 2 for him approaching in the NFL. We're going to take a time out here on South Carolina sideline. Up next, though, the WNBA regular season beginning over the weekend, and there's a lot of Gamecocks in the league. As always, we're going to talk about A'ja Wilson and Aliyah Boston and how they shined in this opening weekend. Well, the WNBA regular season began over the weekend, and Jared, there are 9 former Gamecocks on WNBA rosters. There probably should be more, but at the current time,
Agreed.
there are 9 on the Gamecock rosters, and a lot of storylines regarding a lot of these former Gamecocks. A'ja Wilson, of course, the reigning MVP, doing work for Vegas, even though they lost that opener to the New York Liberty. A'ja with 31 points in the season opener, and Aliyah Boston also shining with the Indiana Fever, 19 points, 13 rebounds, 5 blocks. The 2 Naismith winners from South Carolina really starting the season on fire. Jared, from this first weekend, what were some of your big takeaways from the former Gamecocks?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, A'ja Wilson doing MVP things. It's almost hard because what she does is so impressive, but she does it so often. You kind of get used to this level of play from her. But I really love what we're seeing from Aliyah Boston early on. I mean, she played great hoops. She was shot well from the floor. She was awesome on defense, and she rebounded well too. She looks like she's really ready to make that year 3 jump, going from all-star to top of the top elite player, maybe possibly in the future in some of those MVP conversations.
I agree. And I think for Aliyah, the big thing is, I remember last year, she had a long off season and she didn't start the season very well for the Fever. She got there about halfway through, but she didn't start her second season with the Fever very well. But this off season, she played unrivaled, and I just thought she looked ready to go, and she did not miss a beat, and I thought she looked determined. It was a frustrating start to the game. She went 0 for 3 and missed some bunnies, and then after that she just took off. And I think this is a good sign for the Fever that Aliyah and Caitlin are already clicking, and they got a lot of pieces in the offseason to really make this team a lot better. So I was really impressed with the Fever. And Aliyah Boston, afterwards they won by a lot against the Chicago Sky. Camila Cardoso also in this game with 7 points and 7 rebounds, but Aliyah Boston saying, hey, it's only one game, and they still got a lot of work to do.
Like what we talked about in the locker room is don't get comfortable. I mean, this is a great first win, but we have 43 more games to go. And so for us, it's just about making sure that we lock in, we rewatch the game, look at what we need to work on, get in the gym, and continue to work.
So A'ja Wilson and the Aces and Aliyah Boston and the Fever actually playing tonight, again, Tuesday of this podcast. They both play tonight. So we'll see how the Aces and the Fever do in game 2 of the season. But Jared, any other things that stood out for you when it comes to former Gamecocks in this opening weekend?
Alicia Gray, you want to talk about some MVP performances? They didn't get the win on night 1, but she looked like a possible MVP contender, 25 points, nearly a triple-double. She looks like she's ready to, carry that Atlanta team to be competitive this year.
Yeah, I think Aliyah Gray is probably the most underrated former Gamecock in the league. I
Which
feel
is
like
crazy to think about.
Crazy because she's consistently so good. And so I do think that she's one that kind of flies under the radar, not even just former Gamecock, but really probably of like best players in the league. I feel like she doesn't get enough attention. So I think she's, between her and Ryan Howard, they're really the stars of that Atlanta team. And I also thought it was great to see Tahina Paopao not only make the roster, she started. And I actually asked that question last week on the podcast. I said, can she fight her way into the starting lineup for the Dream? I didn't think it was going to be game one, though.
And she looked good, too.
She looked good.
She did not look like a rookie struggling to figure things out. Obviously, she's going to get better with time, but she looked like she was fitting that system perfectly from game one.
She did. I was really, really impressed. She had 7 points, and I've just said from the beginning, she's looked so comfortable in this Dream system. And of course, we can't end the WNBA conversation without talking about Sanaya Fagan, who also made the Sparks roster. She hasn't played yet when it comes to the Sparks. They played 2 games so far, so no minutes. But that viral video of her finding out that she made the team was so awesome. I tell everyone, Jared, I've told you guys, you guys know this too from covering them. Sanaya Fagan is one of the nicest athletes I have ever covered. So that was such a great moment of just pure joy and hard work. Someone who trusted the system here at South Carolina, waited her turn, and now she's on a WNBA roster. So there were, so many Gamecock things happened within a few days.
And with Sanaya, it's especially heartwarming to watch, especially when you know how hard it is to make these WNBA rosters. You see a lot of your favorite players getting cut left and right, especially from preseason to day one. So the fact that she was able to get it done and accomplish one of her goals was just super incredible to watch.
Incredible. And I know that the Gamecock fans are going to freak out when she does get her first minutes with the
and that
Sparks.
first bucket.
First bucket is going to be big time. And I think the WNBA, I'm assuming this summer we're probably going to have entire episodes dedicated to the WNBA because there are so many former Gamecocks. But A'ja Wilson leading the way, she's already starting her MVP campaign for number 4 MVP because she is the GOAT for a reason. Another break here on South Carolina Sideline. Up next, I'm going to give you guys a behind-the-scenes story of an interview I did with Joyce Edwards a year ago that looked good on TV, but behind the scenes, it was murky. I'll tell you about it after this. Well, I keep saying, that one of the things I want this podcast to do is to give behind the scenes tidbits, information about our industry, funny moments that have happened to us throughout the years. And especially for me, I've been in Columbia for almost 9 years. So I have a lot of stories, you guys, and a lot of things you might not know. And I actually have not even told Jared this story because I wanted his initial reaction. But in the spirit of graduation, this story really came to my mind, and I thought a lot of people would enjoy it. But a year ago on our 30 Minutes sports show, Sports Zone, I had Joyce Edwards come in and be a guest on our show. She came in studio with her mom. It was fantastic. It was the week of her graduation. So I think we recorded it on a Monday, and she was graduating on Friday. And of course, we'd already knew she was going to South Carolina. So I was very excited to have her on the show. Everyone was excited that she was here. It was great. Joyce sat down, and I don't like wasting people's time. So if you come in the studio for an interview, I'm like, let's, get you mic'd up. Let's do it. And I want you to be able to, go about your day. They live in Camden. So it's, it's a bit of a drive from downtown Columbia. And I wanted them I wanted it to be an efficient day in the studio. So Joyce comes, her and her mom are fantastic. The interview's going great. We start, it's like a 15-minute interview. Joyce is great. We're just bouncing off each other. It's so natural. And I knew Joyce before this, so we knew each other, and it was great. And it wrapped up 15 minutes. Conversation couldn't have been better, Jared. And I'm like, thank you guys so much. This was fantastic. And then our director comes in. We had just gotten a new system at the studio, and that's always kind of tricky. Things happen. And the director comes in, and he was like, Matt, I have to tell you something. And I was like, what? And he was like, it didn't record.
No.
And this was not a live interview. So we did record it in the afternoon. I was like,
no.
I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, it didn't record. It messed up. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, the whole thing? And he said, the whole thing. So I was like, what am I supposed to do? Because this is my show for the day, and Joyce Edwards just did the whole thing. Do I ask her to stay? Do I just give up? And so I just had to be real with them, and I said, Joyce, the interview didn't record. Do you mind doing it again? And she was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, I'm saying the whole thing, Joyce, the whole interview. And she was like, oh, the whole thing. And I looked at her mom and I was like, can you guys please stay and do it again? Because this is like our show. We've promoted it, all this stuff. And they were like, yes. And Jared, when I tell you, Joyce Edwards did that interview almost verbatim to how she did it the first time. I asked the same questions, and for a 17-year-old high schooler to literally remember all of her answers that we had just gone over, and we don't plan the questions.
Right.
She didn't know what I was going to ask, but she answered almost every single question the exact same way as the first interview. So, and I was like, that's when I knew, the engineering and all that. I was like, yeah. Joyce Edwards is a smart person, because she answered every question. So I was mortified. And if you watch the interview, you can't tell. It was great. But just know that the interview that you saw, and we'll put it in the comments or something, and we'll show you some of it. But if you watch that interview, you would have no clue. But if you remember that interview, just know that was not the first take that we did. It was the second take, and Joyce Edwards nailed it. And so I am forever grateful to Joyce Edwards and her mom for staying after and doing the entire thing again, because they easily could have said,
clutch.
We need to go. And I was like, oh man. So yeah, it was an interesting day. It's one of those things of why did the system have to fail now of all time? So yeah, shout out to Joyce Edwards, because that interview ended up doing really well. It got thousands of views on YouTube and everyone really enjoyed it. And I remember thinking, whew, I'm glad, because
you must have had a knot in your gut.
Oh, I had a knot in my gut. It was take two. Yeah, it was take two. And then you're worried about losing the authenticity of an interview like that, because the first one went so well. And I was like, please, Joyce, please stay and do it again, because I was like, this is our show for the day, and everyone's really excited for it. So yeah, again, forever grateful to Joyce Edwards for sticking around and doing a second interview with me.
I can't imagine. I'm glad that has never happened to me so far.
Yet.
Hopefully never. But that has to be the worst.
Yeah, it was one of the ones I was like, why today? So anyway, I got that story and many more in my back pocket for you guys. But again, we will put that. We'll share the link in the comments. You guys can watch that interview and you can see just how professional Joyce Edwards already was as a graduating senior. But anyway, we'll have more behind the scenes stories for you guys throughout this podcast. We'll wrap things up here on South Carolina Sideline after this. All right, it's been another great show of South Carolina Sideline. Jared, of course, softball getting underway this weekend in their Super Regional, trying to make it to the College World Series. Anything else you're looking forward to this week as we wrap up our show?
I'm looking forward to more WNBA.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're early on in the season, so it's going to be fun to follow the 9 current Gamecocks that are in the league. Like you said earlier, could and should be at least one more.
Yeah, one more. 2 more.
I'm excited to see how they get going, especially, like I said, some of these MVP candidates, Asia, Aliyah, Boston, Alicia Gray. See how they continue to stack the stat sheet.
Yeah, and it's always fun too when they go against each other, like Aliyah and Camilla battling out in the paint. All that stuff is a lot of fun. But we'll have more for you throughout the coming days here on South Carolina Sideline. Thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you for listening wherever you guys are listening to our podcast. We'll have more for you. It's been another great show. He's Jared Parker. I'm Matt Dowell. We'll see you next time here on South Carolina Sideline.